Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to my sister's wedding after finding out only our side of the family were having to pay £3,000 to attend? So my younger sister Katie 28 and her partner Chris 29 are getting married in April in Dubai. She has always wanted an extravagant wedding and is going all out on this, so the wedding is happening over 4 days. There are 70 guests, but they want us, me, my husband, and parents, to stay in the same hotel with them along with her bridesmaids, which I am maid of honor and groomsmen. The hotel is pretty luxe, so with flights it is costing us just over £2,900 each. Chris' family are also staying in the hotel, which includes his parents, 2 brothers, and his nephew. My sister and Chris are well off. I don't know exactly how much they earn combined, but I know Katie is on $88K and she is the lower earner. But about 6 months ago Chris and Katie came to us and asked to borrow $17K more. They stressed it would be a loan paid over time and said the venue had increased the price. Dubai law was different, blah blah blah. They paid this money or they lost the lot. We believe them, and I offered to loan $7K and my parents the other $10K. So long story short, I have since found out through someone else that the $17K wasn't for the venue, it was for Chris' family to fly over there. They saw how much it was going to be, didn't want to pay and refused to go. I asked Katie and she confirmed, so my first question was if they were paying for his parents, why not pay for ours? I would never expect them to pay for me even if we couldn't afford it. I'd have wished them well and stayed at home. And her answer was, because they can afford it. She got very defensive and said this was the fairest way she could think of doing it. It's hard enough planning a wedding, etc. But when I asked, if you genuinely thought this was the fairest way to do it, why did you lie about what the $17K was for and say it was a venue issue? She couldn't answer. My parents are aware and are very disappointed they lied, but have said they're still attending, but I have backed out. To me it feels like my parents are being taken advantage, and if they couldn't afford to pay for both our and Chris' parents and his brothers and nephew, then they shouldn't have just paid for the 4 parents or no one at all. And they especially shouldn't have lied about it. Katie and Chris keep calling and asking me to attend, saying I'm making them feel bad and ruining their day. But the whole thing just feels icky to me. Edit to answer a few questions. 1. The repayment plan. My husband's brother is a solicitor and he kindly drew up a contract and repayment plan for both myself and my parents, so the money will be paid off within 12 months of the wedding. If they don't stick to this, I have access to a free solicitor, haha. I hope it wouldn't come to that, but that's why I have the papers for worst case scenario. 2. Asking for the $7K back. I might be a soft touch, but asking for this back feels like a step too far. Like I'm mad as hell, but not enough to actively try ruin their wedding a few weeks before, which it feels like, right now at least, is what that would be doing. But hey, give me a few more days to stew. 3. I'm obviously not privy to their financial situation, but what the limited amount I do know from what Katie has said is Chris and his family grew up very poor. Before all this I'd always thought Chris was a lovely guy, but I had caught him in the odd but harmless white lie. Things like where he went to school, the type of house he grew up in, etc. I get the impression he is embarrassed or resentful of his upbringing given their lack of money, and this is how he now values his own self-worth, by his much money he has. My guess is when his family said they couldn't go he panicked and worried people who ask why they weren't there, and he would either have to say they couldn't afford it or he couldn't afford to pay for them. And look, his past trauma/experience is not for me to judge, but if that were the case it just makes me more mad that they both didn't plan ahead and talk to friends/family about what they could afford before booking Dubai. If it was such a deal breaker for his family to be there, they should have factored in the cost of paying for all parents to attend instead of thrusting a $3K per person bill at them and expecting them to rock up. Update. So in short, I didn't end up going to the wedding. Katie and Chris basically harassed me constantly until few days before they were due to fly out. I received a belligerent voicemail from Katie saying if I didn't go I wasn't her sister anymore. I was embarrassing myself and her and Chris. I was a horrible person, and most shockingly, if I didn't go then her and Chris wouldn't be paying me or my parents back for the money we loaned, so trying to blackmail me. She would say it was a gift, I faked the contract, and I would have to take her to court. She was clearly drunk at the time. The voicemail was left on the night she was having her at-home hen do, which I also obviously didn't attend, but it was so beyond anything I thought she was capable of. I ended up sharing it with my parents, and they also reluctantly pulled out of attending. I heard through friends and family in attendance at the wedding after her and Chris were telling everyone I had alienated her from her family and told lies to our parents. we gifted money and expected them to pay for us etc., and they made the decision to uninvited myself and my husband. Other, more insulting things were said that I don't particularly want to go into. Suffice to say they were very hurtful. As I mentioned in my post, I had my brother-in-law, solicitor, draw up a contract for repayment for both myself and my parents. What was supposed to be the first repayment date passed without word from either of them, so Bill picked up from there. His attempts to reach them were ignored apart from one email from what I think was a fake law firm outlining the money was gifted, the contract was fraudulent and to take them to court basically. In response to that, Bill sent a copy of the voicemail Katie left.